Animation is what we're looking at today. I have touched on animation in the past, kind of briefly, kind of in passing, I think, when I was talking about title. We're going to focus on it directly now because DaVinci Resolve recently used a pretty significant update, and there's a different way of doing it. So what I did before to now look familiar won't work if you download Resolve right now. And it's way better, like way better. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. What we're doing in this little project is we're taking an image, which is a map. Here, I'll show you the whole thing. It's a big map. I'm going to zoom way in, and we're moving around inside that map, kind of like turning a still image into a video in a way. I learned of this called the Ken Burns effect ages ago. Ken Burns is a documentarian who does historical documentaries primarily. And sometimes it's so far back in the past that there's nothing but paintings or etchings or tintypes or tea drawings. Yeah. And what he'll do, instead of just putting up the static image, is that he'll move around inside the image as if it was a video. And it was pretty sophisticated at the time, because what he had to do at the time was put the image itself up, like physically, light it well, and then put a camera on a trap and move the camera through the image. Well, we're going to replicate that digitally. It's a lot easier. All right, so here's what we're doing. We're coming into this map. We're going down the coast. We're turning the corner, coming into the Hilo Bay, and then we have a video of Hilo Bay. I'll show you that in real time. Coming down the coast. And then we turn the corner, and we come down and zoom in to Hilo Bay, and then we have the image of Hilo Bay, the video of Hilo Bay. So let's move a little down timeline. I'll show you how we did that. First, I'm going to bring the map in. We'll make it a little bit longer, and I'm going to use the inspector here, which we use a lot. And this is one of the reasons why we use it a lot. I'm going to grab the zoom value, zoom in, grab the X and Y value, and get it to where I want to be when we start. It's like right about there. So we'll start there. That's where we're going to start. Then you see these diamonds along the edge. I'm going to click this one, turn it red, and click that one to turn it red. So we're now anchoring the zoom value and the position values to that frame, creating a keyframe. And that's what this red dot means, that this isn't just a normal frame, it's a keyframe that has values stored. I'm going to go halfway through the image now, thereabouts. And now we want to put the image where we want it to be. So I'm going to do that by here. I'm going to go to the transform layer, make sure that that is highlighted, and I can just actually move the image up here. I'm clicking and dragging, get to the point where I want to be, which is about there. And now you see it has created keyframes for me already. But it didn't change the zoom value because I didn't change the zoom value. I want to anchor the zoom value here. I don't want to zoom in while I'm moving down the coast. So I'm just going to click that myself to make that a keyframe. Now, you see, Resolve automatically calculates the differences between the two keyframes. You can see them changing here in the inspector. I didn't have to do anything except go from here to here, and it handles it automatically. So now the second one, I actually want to go down to focus on this is the Hilo Bay. I also want to zoom in. I actually want to zoom in quite a bit. So we'll do that. And now that is about where I want it to be. I want to be able to see Hilo Bay. So now we're going down the coast. Get to the point, and it kind of changes direction, and we zoom in. Actually, I want to zoom in even more. So you see here, if I use the arrow key and I go back, I am no longer on a keyframe. I could change the value here, but the keyframe is where those values are stored. So if I change the values here, it's going to do some funky stuff. So I want to make sure I'm on the frame where the keyframes are, and now I can indeed zoom in further and move it like that. And now we'll have a much more dramatic zoom in than drop down to Hilo Bay. That word shows up a lot better. But now look at this transition. It's a little robotic, yeah. It kind of goes, the values change too quickly because it's just calculating the differences. It's not thinking what's going to look good. We have to tell it what's going to look good. So now, with the map selected, I'm going to go up to the keyframes tab up here, and now I have these keyframes over time. There's a couple of different views here. Like this one, I can just kind of grab it. Let's say I want to go down the coast for a little bit longer. I can take the middle point and just move it forward. But what I want to do is look at the curves editor here. I'm going to grab those middle points, right click on one of them, and I can select either a linear calculation. I want to ease in and out, or just ease out. Since I'm in the middle here, I'm going to have ease in and out. And you can see how this becomes a flat line almost. I don't want to, because what that will do here, I'll show you. What that will do is stop and then start again, which it also isn't what I want. So I'm going to take these values and change them a little bit. This is a curve. So I don't want it to stop. I don't want it to get flat, but I do want it to be something other than that linear. So this goes pretty deep. I could easily have made things much worse. So you kind of have to experiment with these and see what works best. Like, let's try that. I like that too. Did something different than the robotic changing of numbers. There is another view of these keyframes, though, and that's down here in the timeline. So this one up here gives you a lot of vertical space, so you can animate a lot of different values if you want to. Like, we could be rotating this, we could be animating camera shake, that kind of thing. The bottom view here shows you more linearly, so you can have a little bit finer control over timing of these keyframes. And here you can see the keyframes at the beginning, keyframes in the middle, and the keyframes at the end. Very easy to get to them. Make sure that you're looking at the values here, the keyframe values if you need to change them. So let's go ahead and bring our Hilo Bay video down. Now this is a wide angle of Hilo Bay. There's almost no motion in the clouds, very little motion in the water. So what I'm going to do is speed it up. I'm going to speed it up by 500%, so 5 times. And that will make it a little bit more. That's too fast. Makes it look like a cartoon, so we'll make it 300. And I don't need it to be all that long, so we'll make it kind of short here. Now, we're still not going to see anything in the clouds, but the water movement is a little bit more obvious. So here we're coming down to Hilo Bay, and poof, we're in Hilo Bay. I actually want that to be a fade. I'm going to dissolve between those two. So I'm going to select the transition and hit Control-T, which automatically adds the default transition, which in my case is a fade. Now, there we go. It fades into that. Let's make it a little bit longer. I think we'll make it 1.5 seconds. There we go. Close enough. And I like it. Except that right there. Do you see that? As we're coming in, the movement of the map stops halfway through the fade. Well, now you can take these keyframe values and move them beyond the edge of the clip. So I'm going to move them past the end of the fade here. So now we'll have smooth movement all the way through the fade. That's keyframe animation, as it is in Resolve 20.1. Probably 20.2. Actually, 20.2 just came out and changed a few other things. We'll get into that later. Fortunately, we haven't touched on some of the stuff that it changes, so we'll just go forward from there. But that's keyframe animation with the keyframe editors in this version. Thanks for coming along. I hope that was helpful, and we'll catch you later. Take care.